Hey everyone, I'm excited to talk to you today about the homeschool curriculum that we use, which maybe you can see it right there. It is Sonlight, and all of the reasons why we love it. So we have been using Sonlight. This is now our 5th year. We had their P3-4 program, their P4-5 program, that's their preschool programs, and then we used them for kindergarten. And then we used them for 1st grade, which was their Core A, and now we are using their Core B. What probably distinguishes Sonlight from other curriculums, or at least all of this is my thoughts. So I'm just sharing with you my thoughts. If you came and asked me, hey, what do you use? This is what I would tell you about our curriculum. So to me, what distinguishes Sonlight from other curriculums is that it is a literature-rich curriculum based on real books, or some might call them living books. So kind of instead of using textbooks, like let's say a traditional history book that covers lots of different times in history in one textbook, Sonlight would use different books that kind of tell the story of that time. So they might use fiction, they might use nonfiction, but it might be kind of like historical fiction, things like that. So they're using these books that really engage their readers to kind of teach instead of using traditional textbooks. So they're more considered living books that they're using. One thing I really enjoy about using a curriculum that is what I would call book heavy, and actually this is one thing I really love about Sonlight, is that you do a lot of reading, and I actually really like that, as opposed to the alternative, which to me would be more like kind of activities or crafts. I am not like an activity craft person, so I found that if I was using something that was like, now we need to go and make this thing, or we're gonna do this, or you need to like cut and do all this stuff with craft stuff, I was like, ugh. So what I love about it is it's more about kind of reading with your kids, and I was like, okay, I can get behind that. So one thing I really enjoy is that when we are doing our curriculum with Sonlight, especially our reading portion, our kids tend to ask like for me to keep reading. They're like, no, don't stop, read the next chapter. Usually we have to stop because I'm like, I am so tired, I can't keep reading. I'm like, I've read so much. No, but it's not too much. But the nice thing is that the kids usually want to continue. They want to keep learning. One thing I particularly have loved is that the kids will actually play out what they're learning. So like later in the day, I might see that they're playing games. Maybe they're playing outside or something, and they're actually kind of like playing and acting some of the stuff we read. So for instance, I'll just show you some of these books. I have Core A set out right here, displayed for you. All the books you get with Core A. Here are some of the books that I'm gonna talk to you about. But just as an example, when we're thinking about history, here's one that I really loved. This one is called Out of Darkness, and it was about, it says the story of Louis Braille. So it's all about how Braille came to be and all about his life. And later that week, I noticed my kids were taking like paper, and this was like unprompted. I didn't ask them to do this. This was not like an activity that I was like, hey, you guys should try this. But they were taking like a pen, and they were poking holes in paper and pretending that they were making Braille. And so that was just really cool, because it's like, oh, they were like totally listening when we read that. Or here's another one. This one's called Laws of Motion. This one was all about Isaac Newton. And so it's kind of like a comic book. So they're so interesting to read, and the way that they're written, all of their books are seriously like very engaging. This was one on Johnny Appleseed. And within this story, there's like so many different historical facts that are written in here. And it just is like beautiful pictures, and it's so engaging. This one is called 20 and 10. This is all about when Germany occupied France, and they actually like had some French children that were brought they were brought to a refuge in the mountains. And then they also were asked to hide 10 Jewish refugee children. So this was all about World War II. So this was the first time we had introduced basically World War II to our kids, was in this book. And it's an amazing, compelling, beautiful story. And it just is like, I loved that this was their introduction to a really heavy, hard topic. So that's kind of an example of some of the history. And then like how they play out some of this stuff. So I think they even played out this book. Like they played imaginary games with enacting what that time period was. So I love that. I also love that with Sonlight, you build up a library of great books. Because with Sonlight, you get all of the books. Like there's all of the books from our core A. And so they just sit downstairs on our bookshelf, and my kids will continually go back down and they'll grab their favorites and they'll flip through them and they'll look at the pictures. And my oldest now is starting able to read kind of on her own. And so she actually will start rereading. And what I'm looking forward to is as they're older and they can read on their own, them going back and grabbing all these books that they used to love and reading them on their own. And it just kind of gives us this nice library, because this is now our 5th curriculum, so I have several shelves of books from Sonlight that our kids get to read. So I kind of like that it builds up a library. I also love the reading because it gives us like this couch time together. So like we'll sit on the couch and we'll either, I don't know, you kind of like snuggle when you're reading, you know, they kind of like lean into you and then you're just like reading to them. And it's nice to have that built in, because if I had a curriculum that didn't build in reading like that, I have a feeling I would be prioritizing all these other things in our curriculum, and I would probably never get around to reading to my kids, because I would be like, well, that's kind of like optional. So I wouldn't on my own schedule that in easily, because that's just not a strength of mine, is like kind of not scheduling in stuff, which is one reason why I love Sonlight, because they schedule it all for me. But I like that we kind of have this forced like cuddling time. I shouldn't say forced, but you get what I mean. Also, another great thing about Sonlight is that their history, their readers, and their read aloud books. So like some of these ones were like, I think this was a science book. These ones were history. Louis Braille was history. So like some of these history books, along with the read alouds and reader books, sometimes they connect them. And I've also heard as like the cores, as they get older, there's a lot of connectivity between all of these books. So they're going to be learning about certain time periods, certain themes. Like right now in our core B, we're going through ancient Egypt. So a lot of the books are revolving around that. We're reading a book on King Tut, and it's just all immersive. It's like really cool how they have everything kind of laid out. So I love that. And one thing I will mention, Sonlight, I would say the core of Sonlight to me is their History Bible Literature program. So it's HBL, History Bible Literature. And that's going to be exactly what it sounds like, your history. They are a Christian-based curriculum company. So they have a section for Bible reading, and then they have literature, which is all those great books that I was talking about. So you'll buy that package, the History Bible Literature, and then you will add on things, and you'll create your own package. But they will take all of that, and they're going to give you the schedules for how to do everything you need to do. And it's basically like you can custom your own package, and you're going to get these super fat binders. They're huge. I keep our core in here. So I want to tell you that basically probably the main thing I love about Sonlight and what sold me is that it's a curriculum in a box. So you will get everything you need to get started right away. So in terms of like prepping for our year, really the thing that takes the longest is me prepping out my own systems, which I have another video about that kind of goes through my homeschool tour and how we organize. So that is what takes me the most time, is kind of organizing my own preference of the schedules and what we do. But in theory, you could literally open up the box from Sonlight, pull out all of the books. They're gonna give you, you can even go as far as paying them to organize your binder for you. You can either do it on your own. You're gonna get all of the schedules for all of the different things you choose to do through them. So like if you buy their science program, which I highly recommend getting because it's amazing. And you get all of these schedules. You can kind of see, I mean, this is just, I'm flying through this, but it has 36 weeks of their tabs, and then, and within that, you're gonna put each schedule. So I have here is the History, Bible, Literature schedule, and this is a 4-day schedule. Then it has, I have a language arts. We did language arts with their core A. I have science A. And those are the 3 schedules that I had in this. And so there's every schedule in those 36 weeks. You guys, Sonlight has thought of everything, even down to, for those of you who are type A and like to organize, you can even buy book labels. Look at this. So this is like, says core A. So all of my books, I have core A stickers on them. And so on my shelves, I can easily identify where do all of the books go. And this is how these books don't get lost with all of our other books, is I know which ones are Sonlight. So it keeps them very organized. But I'm just like, they literally have thought of every single little detail to make your life easier. So it's like this curriculum in a box, and I needed that. The best thing to me is the schedule. So they have mapped out every single thing in their curriculum, and they have put it in a 180-day plan. And you can choose if you want to do a 5-day-a-week plan, or you can do a 4-day-a-week plan. The main difference, and you can even on their website click to see what is the difference between their 5-day and their 4-day plan, and you'll see typically it's just like there's extra books in the 5-day. So one thing that I know people will do is if you want to get your school done in 4 days a week, so you free up that 5th day, but you still want those other books, you can order those other books and just read them on the side and buy the 4-day schedule so that your week is mapped out in 4 days and you have them telling you exactly what to do to get through the whole curriculum in 4 days. They are so detailed with Sonlight that they actually have a notes section for every schedule that they give you. And so like for instance, on the History, Bible, Literature, they will have a note section that's going to tell you, like if you want to read it before you're reading to your kids, it will give you some background information. It may touch on some things that your kids might be confused on. I've even seen where they have little asterisks that are like specific to parents to kind of alert you if there is a topic that's going to be maybe a little bit more difficult for your child. Or like one example is in one of the books they have, like in some of the ancient civilizations, some of the people weren't wearing clothes. And so in this particular book we were looking through, they gave the parents a heads up in the schedule to let you know, just so you know, in today's reading there's going to be, I mean, they're like kind of cartoons in this book, but there's going to be like nudity on the cartoons. So they're kind of like, just know that going into it, you know, choose to make accommodations if you want to change that, whatever. But they're just so thoughtful in how they train you. Like literally, I feel like you can school straight from what they provide. I have not had to really do anything beyond what they've given. Like I'm not prepping school. They've already done all of the work for me. So I love that. Another thing I love, you can pair up your kids and they can share a core. So my 2 oldest kids have been doing the same core last year. They did core A, and this year they're doing core B together. Because what that is that means they're sharing the core, which is the history, Bible, literature, and science. They do those together. We do that completely together as a family. Even my youngest sits in on all of that. And then individually, each child has their own handwriting, their own math, their own language arts, so their own reading. They're doing age appropriate things on the individual level, but collectively we come together for those larger topics. And I love that. So like I know that so I only have to buy 1 core per year. And then I'm going to reuse that core as the years go on when my youngest kind of gets caught up to that. But my 2 oldest will be tracking on a core. So at most at one time, I'll be doing 2 cores. Can you imagine how crazy hard that would be if you had to do 3 cores, like 3 individual curriculums with 3 children? So I love that you can pair up your children to decrease how many cores you're actually doing when you start having more kids that are schooling. One thing I love about Sonlight is that it is a Christian-based curriculum. So I really enjoy that. They actually build in on your schedule like Bible reading times, which that's something I would love to do with my kids. If they were not scheduling that in, I probably wouldn't do it. So I have really enjoyed that they do that. In Core A, this was one of the books that we read last year, and I probably would have never bought this book. Like I wouldn't have found it on Amazon, but because Sonlight introduced me to it, I'm like, I loved this, and our kids loved this book. I mean, even from the cover, if I'm honest, I would be like, ugh. I mean, I'm not trying to judge the cover. I'm not judging the cover. But I wouldn't gravitate towards it because it does feel kind of like dated and a little bit old and whatever. But it's such a great book, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just like loved it. I would never buy that book for myself. There's lots of books that I feel like they put in their curriculum that I'm like, I would never have thought to get this from the library or anything, and I love it. They also like naturally integrate how you can talk with your kids about the gospel and about sin and Jesus and like everything. They build that in, and even with like parent notes, they'll even make notes like, you know, this is a great time to talk with your kids about, and they'll throw ideas and suggestions, which I just really appreciate that. They also give books like throughout that discuss like missionaries. So like people who go and share about Jesus, and it's like real life stories. So these are books also I would have never gotten, and they're really fascinating stories, true stories. Like this one is God at Work in the Central African Republic. This one is True Stories of God at Work in Southeast Asia. And these are books that we're reading in our curriculum. And I just kind of really enjoy that they build that into the curriculum. Another thing I like is that although it is a Christian-based curriculum, they do not shy away from secular books. Like I do not want an insulated curriculum where we are only learning about all things that are Christian. They are introducing everything. I mean, they introduce everything. Right now, we're currently reading about lots of different world cultures and all of the religions that they believe. And it has brought up great conversations as we introduce that to our kids, telling them about just the ways that people are different, the different things that they believe, how that might differ from we believe. And it's like they don't shy away from introducing great books, whether or not it was written by someone who's a Christian or not. So I really like that they are giving you a full look at literature and history. So I really appreciate that. Oh, I didn't get this. Let me talk to you about something. I was going to grab it, but it's over there. They have, this is another thing I love about Sonlight. They have a timeline book, and it's a book like this big, it's spiral bound, and it is blank pages, but it's a timeline. It starts like forever ago, and then it comes to present day. And you flip these pages, and they give you every single core, you get these timeline like stickers, and the kids get to color them. And so after we learned about, I think there was one for Johnny Appleseed. I don't remember. Was there one for him? Maybe. After we learned about Johnny Appleseed, there was, and is that his real name? I forget. John Chapman. Yeah, John Chapman. But now they call him Johnny Appleseed. Anyway, John Chapman. So there's a little biography picture of John Chapman, and they got to color it, and it says kind of like the dates of his life. And then you cut it out, and they just stick it in this timeline book. And this timeline book will go with them through like as long as we do Sonlight. And every single year, there's going to be more and more like stickers of these historical events or prominent people in history that we get to put into this timeline book. And so the kids love flipping through it, and it really helps put this visual picture of when did everything happen. I love that. Like that's so specific, and it's just such a really cool thing that they do. Okay, another thing. If you have multiple kids and you're going to be using this curriculum later, I love that Sonlight makes it very easy to reuse their stuff. So I have like this entire core A, and you can go check out my other video of how I organized things, but I actually photocopy this, I photocopy just the schedule, and that way I can mark it up, I can use it, and it stays untouched for when I school our next child who's going to be using that. They also make it very easy for you to see, like even in your order history on their website, you can see like what things did I get that particular year. So like in 2 years or 3 years, when I'm using this curriculum again with my daughter, I'm going to be able to go and see what things do I need to reorder, because there are consumables, like there are certain workbooks or maybe there's certain worksheets. And so I can go and see which ones did I get that we used, and I can just reorder the worksheets or the workbooks. And they just make it really easy for you to reuse with other kids and to identify exactly what did you use and then replace that. So I enjoy that. Okay, another thing, can you believe there's all these things I love about Sonlight? Another thing, they have an incredible customer service. I'm like huge on customer service. If a company does not have good customer service, I'm like, ooh, bad move. They have exceptional customer service. In fact, they have what's called Sonlight advisors, and those are actual moms who have used Sonlight before. And then these are the women who you can call, and it's free. You just call them and you get a phone call with an advisor, and they will walk you through everything. These women, I don't know where they found these women, but like they are so good at what they do. They're so good at what they do. I have talked to them only a handful of times because they're so helpful that I get like every single question I had answered. So if any of you are sitting on the fence about Sonlight, call these advisors and talk to them about your concerns or what you're interested, or like some of the questions you have, or even, some of the things that you're troubleshooting, like call them, because they have such good ideas. Even like sometimes it's so complicated for me to think through, okay, I have this kid at this age and this one at this age, and then I'm gonna have that one coming down there. Like, where do I put them all? Or like, what math do I get? Or I mean, like all this stuff. You just call them. They are so patient. They will walk you through every little detail. In fact, they'll even build your cart if you want them to, and they'll place the order on their end, which after like an hour discussion with one of them, because my head was like spinning, and I'm just like, it was my first year, I'm like, I don't even know what I need to be getting. And she like built it for me, and I'm like, can you just get it? Because I don't even want to have to try to do this in my cart right now. So it was so great. Like, they're so helpful. Okay, another thing, and I just found out about this because I was perusing their website. You can try Sonlight for free. I didn't know you could do this, but basically you can go on their website and there's like a little option. It says like try Sonlight for free, and you give them their information, and they're going to send you a little sample of a schedule, and they're going to send you one free book, and they're going to show you, they also show their schedules on their website. So if you want to go look at a PDF of what their schedules look like, I also found that to be really helpful. But if you're the type who like, I want to like feel it in my hands and look at it, and I want to practice with it, they will send you a book for free and a schedule, and you're going to get to practice for that. So that was really cool. Again, awesome customer service. And then lastly, and then I'll wrap this up, they have a phenomenal return system. Listen to this. It's called their Love to Learn, Love to Teach Guarantee. And what you can do is, let's say you bought your curriculum. You can hold on to it for a full year. You can use it in that full year up to 18 weeks. So you can use 18 weeks of their curriculum, the first 18 weeks. And they'll give you a whole year to do that 18 weeks. Like if you want to pace it and you're going slow and you're doing 18 weeks, and then at the end of that you're like, this is not working for me, you can return it and get a full refund. So you can go on their website and see the details, but they're very lenient about it. It's like, as long as you haven't touched the other 18 weeks, like even if you've marked up the first 18 and you've opened the books and you've used stuff, like we'll return it. We'll give you a refund. So I thought that was really awesome. So you can kind of try knowing, and they don't do that just for like people who are like, I don't want to do Sonlight. It's like, let's say you got a core that maybe is a little bit more advanced than where your student is, and you realize that you could either return it, or let's say you get a core and your kid is actually beyond that and you want to move them, you know, you feel like this is too simple and you want to give them more, you could return that and go to that next level. So I really thought that was so cool. So yeah, Sonlight is like awesome. Every single year we do it, I fall more and more in love with what they do. So that's pretty much it. I will say that there are certain things, like you can pick your math, you can pick your language art, you can pick different things like that. And as I've gone on, there's been certain things I've tweaked a little bit, like I've changed a little bit. But what I love is that, like I said, the history, Bible, literature is that core piece. And then you can kind of like pick and maneuver these other things around. You can even go outside of Sonlight for your math. You don't have to get your math through Sonlight. But they have several math options. So it's just, it does have this great flexibility, but keeping a consistency with the love of like literature rich learning. So that's my thoughts about Sonlight. I will mention, I also found this out, that I can have a little referral code, which I'm going to be putting that in my description in this video. If you end up getting Sonlight, you can always add my code into your checkout, I believe. I'm sure they make it obvious on the checkout screen. You get $5 off if you spend over $50. So that's great. Obviously, curriculum ends up being kind of expensive. So you're like, oh, I got $5 off of like $600. But anyway, but still it's $5. But if you're going to check out anyway and you're going to go on their website, if you don't mind using my code, because then I can get a little kickback of points towards my curriculum purchase. And because I love Sonlight, I'm going to be buying more curriculum. So that would be awesome if you want to do that. And you've seen this video and you like it. And feel free to find me on Instagram and connect over there, because I'd be excited to get to know anybody here who's watching this. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.